The car key felt cold in my hand. I clenched it, my palm sweating. Her flight was due to land at 3:30 p.m. It was 2 p.m. now, just enough time to drive from the city if there was no traffic. I opened the trunk to check again. Chips she loved were on the left, the preserved plums from that old shop were on the right, and a box of iced sparkling water was tucked in the middle. Jiang Ying liked this, said it was thirst-quenching. It had been a year. She went to France for advanced studies. We video called every day, calculating the time difference. She complained that the bread there was so hard it could kill someone and that the sunsets looked like salted duck egg yolks. I'd say, "Are you craving it? I'll make you pumpkin with salted duck egg yolk when you get back." She would just laugh on the other end, her eyes curved like crescent moons. I closed the trunk and got into the driver's seat. The air freshener was the same one she placed before she left, a faint gardenia scent that made me feel settled. As the car drove onto the overpass, the buildings outside rushed past like metal boxes. The small flame in my heart burned brighter and brighter. I imagined how she would look when she saw me. Would she rush over to hug me, or would she smile and scold me? "Idiot, why did you buy so many snacks again?" I started laughing to myself just thinking about it. The airport was crowded and smelled of a mix of things. I found a noticeable spot to stand and strained my neck to look at the exit. The crowd surged out like water breaking a dam. My eyes ached before I finally saw her. Jiang Ying had lost weight. She was wearing a beige trench coat and her hair was cut short, just touching her shoulders, making her look more capable. She was pushing a large suitcase, looking down at her phone as she walked, a smile on her face. That smile was not for me. My heart sank with an indescribable feeling. "Jiang Ying," I called out, waving to her. She finally looked up. When she saw me, her smile faded halfway, then lifted again as she walked toward me. "Idiot, were you waiting long?" She came closer and pushed the suitcase toward me. I didn't take the suitcase. I reached out and hugged her first. Her body was stiff. It wasn't like before, when she would always melt into my arms like she had no bones. "You're thin," I said, patting her back. I caught a whiff of a strange perfume on her, not the familiar gardenia. "Really? I feel like I gained weight." She pulled away from my embrace and adjusted the collar of her trench coat. "Let's go. I'm exhausted." I pushed the suitcase and followed behind her. She walked quickly and didn't look back. Watching her back, the fire in my heart was extinguished. It was like having a basin of cold water poured over my head, leaving only black, smoldering charcoal, smoking and choking. Once in the car, she took out a compact mirror from her bag to touch up her makeup. She had changed the lipstick color too, a very striking red, one she never used to like. I made plans with Lin Man and the others for tonight. "We're having a welcome dinner for you at our old spot." I started the car, trying to make my voice sound normal. "MHM," she responded, her eyes still focused on her lips in the mirror. I handed her the sparkling water I bought. "Have some water." "I'm not thirsty." She put away the mirror and picked up her phone, tapping quickly on the screen. Only the navigation voice was left in the car. I drove, my eyes on the road ahead, but my peripheral vision was filled with her illuminated phone screen and the slight upward curve of her lips. It was as if this car and the trunk full of her favorite snacks were all invisible. I parked the car outside the apartment building. "We're here." "Oh." She opened the door and got out, walking straight toward the building without looking back. I was left alone to drag the heavy suitcase out of the trunk and haul it upstairs, panting. When I opened the door, she was already lying on the sofa, covered by a blanket, seemingly asleep. I put the suitcase in the corner and walked over, intending to take her shoes off. As I bent down, I heard her mumble something. It was a sentence in French. I didn't understand it. But I recognized the name. "Leo." My hand froze in midair. On the sofa, Jiang Ying rolled over, burying her face in the throw pillow, her breathing steady. It was as if what I just heard was an illusion. But I knew it wasn't. That name was like a needle stuck in my ear. I straightened up and looked at her. She was sleeping soundly, her long lashes casting a shadow beneath her eyes. I had watched this face countless times on video over the past year and thought of it just as many. Yet now this face felt so unfamiliar. I didn't wake her up. I turned and went into the kitchen. I took out the ingredients I had prepared from the fridge, washed the vegetables and cut them. The knife hitting the cutting board made a regular thud, thud, thud sound, striking my heart with every beat. At 7 in the evening, Lin Man and the others arrived. Lin Man was Jiang Ying's best friend, we all knew her. There were also 2 of their former colleagues. "Oh, our beauty is finally back." Lin Man gave Jiang Ying a big hug as soon as she walked in. Jiang Ying woke up and laughed, mingling with them. The room instantly became lively. It felt as if the awkwardness from the afternoon was just my misconception. I brought the last dish to the table. "Don't stand around. Come sit." Wow, Chen Chi, your cooking skill is so good you should open a restaurant. One of the colleagues exclaimed. That won't do. His cooking is exclusive to Jiang Ying, Lin Man interjected, giving me a wink. Jiang Ying smiled but didn't say anything, just lowered her head to pick up a piece of sweet and sour pork. How is it? Does it taste the same? I watched her, a little nervous. Delicious, she nodded, eating quickly. Everyone at the table was drinking and chatting, catching up on the past year and gossiping about the company. I didn't talk much. Most of the time I was peeling shrimp for Jiang Ying and topping up her juice. They all said I spoiled Jiang Ying immensely. Jiang Ying just smiled when she heard this, neither agreeing nor disagreeing. After a few rounds of drinks, Lin Man was tipsy, her cheeks flushed. She held her wine glass, staggered to my side, and threw her arm around my neck, slurring. Chen Chi, hiccup, let me tell you, our Jiang Ying was very popular in France. Of course. Jiang Ying is excellent. I smiled, trying to remove her arm. No, hiccup, not that kind of excellent. There was a handsome guy named Leo who chased her every day. My smile froze. Everyone at the table stopped eating and looked at us. Jiang Ying's face turned pale. Lin Man, you're drunk. She stood up, trying to pull Lin Man away. Lin Man shoved her away and kept talking. I'm not drunk. That Leo drove a sports car and gave her a bag worth tens of thousands. Jiang Ying didn't even agree to be with him. As she spoke, she suddenly turned to me, her eyes wide. Chen Chi, you're something else. Jiang Ying found another lover abroad, and you're not even angry. The room became so quiet you could hear a pin drop. The two colleagues looked from me to Jiang Ying, their faces awkwardly grimacing. Jiang Ying stood there, her lips trembling, unable to utter a single word. I looked at Lin Man's face, flushed from the alcohol, and that small piece of black, smoldering charcoal in my heart reignited. There were no flames, but it burned, scorching my insides until they were dry and painful. I didn't look at Jiang Ying. I stood up, picked up the water pitcher, and poured a cup of warm water for Lin Man. I pushed the glass into her hand, my voice so calm it frightened me. You're drunk. What nonsense are you talking about? I said it with a smile. Then I raised my own glass to the two stunned colleagues. Come on, ignore her. Let's keep drinking. I don't remember how that dinner ended. I only recall that later Lin Man threw up, and Jiang Ying and the two colleagues rushed her out. I sat alone at the messy dining table, motionless. The food on the table was still steaming. The plate of shrimp I had peeled was neatly stacked in Jiang Ying's bowl, untouched. I picked up a pair of chopsticks, took a shrimp, and put it in my mouth. The shrimp meat was sweet, but chewing it tasted more bitter than Chinese gold thread. I don't know how long I sat there, until my clothes felt cold, before I finally stood up. I didn't clear the table or wash the dishes. I walked into the bedroom. Jiang Ying's large suitcase was still standing in the corner. I walked over and unzipped it. Inside were her clothes, neatly folded. As I took them out one by one, an unfamiliar scent, a mix of perfume and tobacco, wafted into my face. It wasn't my cigarette smell. I don't smoke. At the very bottom of the suitcase I felt a hard box. I took it out, it was a jewelry box. I opened it. Inside lay a pair of men's cufflinks. They were platinum, inlaid with fine sapphires, glittering with a cold light under the lamp. On the back of the cufflinks, two letters were engraved. L.O. I stared at those two letters for a long, long time. Then I smiled. I put the cufflinks back in the box, put the clothes back in the suitcase one by one, and zipped it up. As if I hadn't seen a thing. I took a shower and lay down on the bed. The bed was big. I slept on the left, the right side empty. She used to always roll over from the right side and cling to me like an octopus. I closed my eyes, my mind filled with Lin Man's words. Jiang Ying found another lover abroad, and you're not even angry? How could I not be angry? My chest felt like it was being slowly cut by a blunt knife, piece by piece. It wasn't quick, it was just a slow grind. The blood couldn't flow out, it all pooled inside, swollen and painful. In the middle of the night, I heard the door open. Jiang Ying was back. Her footsteps were light, she tiptoed into the bedroom. I didn't move, continuing to feign sleep. She lay down beside me, carrying the smell of alcohol and the cold from outside. She watched me in the dark for a long time. I could feel her gaze, like a feather, sweeping across my face. Then, slowly, she moved closer and hugged me from behind. Her hand was cold. Husband, she whispered into my ear. Her voice held a hint of careful coaxing. I didn't answer. She hugged me tighter. Lin Man was drunk, talking nonsense. Don't believe her. I really don't have anything with that Leo. He's just a regular friend. You are the only one in my heart. She sounded so sincere, so earnest. If I hadn't seen those cufflinks, I might have believed her. Now I didn't believe a word. I still didn't speak. She was silent behind me for a moment, and then I felt her hand become restless. Her cool fingertips slipped under the hem of my pajamas, circling lightly on my waist. Her breath was hot and ticklish on the back of my neck. Husband, it's been a while since we. Her voice was soft and sweet, carrying a hint of flirtation. My body stiffened. A wave of nausea churned in my stomach. I abruptly sat up, pushing her away. Don't touch me. Jiang Ying was pushed back, her elbow hitting the nightstand with a dull thump. She gasped in the dark. Chen Chi, what are you doing? Her voice held a mixture of surprise and hurt. I didn't turn on the light. I just sat in the dark, looking at her blurred silhouette. I'm tired, I said. Not tonight. The room fell silent again. I could hear her erratic breathing. After a long while, she lay back down, turned her body, and faced away from me. Neither of us spoke for the rest of the night. The distance between us was less than a meter, yet it felt like a cold river. I woke up very early the next day. Jiang Ying was still asleep. I glanced at her, then got up and went to the study. I opened my computer, typed in the name Leo, and added keywords like France and sports car. There was a lot of information, and I scrolled for a long time before finding a clue on a student forum. The post title was, Spilling the Tea on Leo Luo, the show-off Chinese rich kid in Paris. There were many replies below. Some said his family was in the mining business, others said he changed girlfriends more often than clothes. I clicked on a photo from the post. The photo was taken in an upscale restaurant. A young man in a tailored suit was speaking to a woman opposite him, his head turned sideways. The man was very handsome, a flamboyant kind of handsome. Although the woman opposite him was only showing her side profile, I recognized her instantly. It was Jiang Ying. She was wearing a black, backless dress I hadn't seen before, holding a glass of red wine and smiling happily. The photo date was 3 months ago. I saved the photo. I then used every method I could to look up this Leo Luo's background. After an entire morning, I managed to piece together a rough profile. His name was Luo Hao, and his family was indeed wealthy. He was a notorious playboy in Paris. Most crucially, I found his domestic social media account. His account was public. His latest post was from last night. It was a photo. In the photo, a woman's hand, slender and fair, was visible. That hand was wearing a diamond ring. The caption read, "The one." That hand was all too familiar to me. On the ring finger there was a tiny mole. It was Jiang Ying's hand. And that diamond ring I had never seen before. My heart felt like it was being clenched by a hand, tightening bit by bit, hurting so much I couldn't breathe. I saved this photo as well. Jiang Ying finally got out of bed around noon. She seemed to have forgotten the unpleasantness of last night. Wearing my white shirt bare-legged, she walked to the doorway of the study. Husband, I'm hungry. She leaned on the doorframe, trying to be seductive. The sunlight shone in from behind her, clearly outlining her figure. The shirt was thin and everything underneath was faintly visible. This was her favorite trick. Whenever I was angry, she would dress like this. I would see her and all my anger would vanish. But today I looked at her, and my heart was completely unmoved. I only felt that it was dirty. There are frozen dumplings in the fridge. Cook them yourself. I turned my attention back to the computer screen, not looking at her again. She froze. Chen Chi, what do you mean? Nothing, I said. I have some work to handle this morning. You've never been like this before. Her voice cracked with a hint of a sob. Before, you would make me whatever I wanted to eat. I ignored her. I was looking at Luo Hao's social media account. He had many followers, and there were many comments below. I scrolled through them one by one. Suddenly, one comment caught my attention. It was left by someone named Vicky W. Leo, when are you going to marry our Ying Ying? Ying Ying. The Ying from Jiang Ying. I clicked on Vicky W.'s profile. Her profile picture was a selfie of a girl. I recognized this girl. She was one of the 2 colleagues who came to our house for dinner with Lin Man the night before. My finger hovered over the mouse, motionless. A cold sweat broke out on my back. So they all knew Lin Man, Vicky, they all knew about Jiang Ying's situation abroad that night at the dinner table. They had praised me, complimenting my abilities and Jiang Ying's good fortune. Thinking about it now, those words were like repeated slaps across my face. They were laughing at me, the fooled idiot, who was still pouring his heart out to a woman whose affection had long since shifted. I snapped the laptop shut with a loud smack. Jiang Ying at the doorway jumped. What is wrong with you? She walked in, trying to take my hand. I pulled away. I told you I'm busy. My voice was cold. Busy? What do you have to be so busy about? Your measly company doesn't even make much money year-round. Her attitude seemed to be provoked by mine, and she spoke harshly. Now that I'm back from abroad, do you think I'm too good for you, is that it? Chen Chi, don't forget, the down payment for this house came from my parents. I looked at her. Her beautiful face was now full of nastiness and self-righteousness. I suddenly found it ridiculous. My company wasn't big, true. That's because I spent most of my time taking care of her and the family. The down payment for this house came from her family, but I was paying the monthly mortgage. The utilities, property management fees, those imported fruits she loved, all the designer bags in her closet. Which one wasn't earned by my hard work? She forgot all of that. She only remembered that her parents provided the down payment. Yes, I'm not good enough for you, I nodded, not arguing with her. Arguing was useless, but I just wanted one thing clarified. What about you? I looked at her. When are you planning to break up with that Leo? Jiang Ying's face instantly went pale. You? What nonsense are you talking about? I told you we are just friends. Just friends? I laughed. Do just friends put a ring on your hand and call you his the one? I opened the laptop, brought up Luo Hao's post, and pushed it toward her. She looked at the hand with the diamond ring on the screen, her lips moving, unable to speak. Is this also just a friend? I clicked on the photo of her and Luo Hao eating in the restaurant. Is this also the friend who Vicky was cheering on, asking when he'd marry you? Jiang Ying's complexion went from white to green, then red. You investigated me? She shrieked. Chen Chi, how dare you investigate me? I didn't investigate you, I said. I just didn't want to be an idiot anymore. You! She was shaking with anger, pointing at me, unable to get a word out for a long time. Finally, she seemed to give up. Yes, I was with him. So what? She lifted her chin, looking at me, her eyes full of defiance. Leo is younger, richer, and more romantic than you. He takes me to Michelin restaurants, buys me bags worth hundreds of thousands, and takes me skiing in the Alps. And you? Chen Chi, what can you do besides cook a few simple meals? When I'm with him, I feel alive. With you, I feel like a kept babysitter. Every word she spoke was like a knife plunging into my heart. I looked at her beautiful face, contorted by agitation, and my heart ironically settled. So that was it.so. My years of devotion were just keeping her in her eyes.so. The spicy noodles she loved were not as good as a steak at a Michelin restaurant.so. The shrimp I peeled for her were not as good as a bag worth tens of thousands. I understand, I nodded. You understand what? I understand, I repeated. Since you like him so much, go find him. We are getting a divorce. I said the last two words very calmly, like saying the weather is nice today. Jiang Ying was stunned. She probably hadn't expected me to propose divorce so decisively. In her mind, I should be the one crying and begging her not to leave me. Divorce. She seemed to have heard a joke. Chen Chi, you're asking me for a divorce? What right do you have? Don't forget, everything you have now is because of me. I got you out of that tiny city, my parents found you a job, Enough. I cut her off. I didn't want to hear it anymore. I'd heard it so many times over the years it was grating. Jiang Ying, let's part ways amicably, I said. The house is yours, the car is yours. I'll leave with nothing. She looked at me, her eyes filled with disbelief. Are you serious? When have I ever joked with you? She stopped talking. She was calculating. I could tell she was quickly figuring out how much she stood to gain from this divorce. After a long while, she spoke. Fine, she said. Divorce is fine. But you have to write me an IOU. An IOU for what? 500,000, she said. Consider it rent for living in my family's house all these years, and compensation for my parents finding you a job. My heart completely froze. Rent. Compensation, we were husband and wife. In her eyes, we were keeping accounts that clearly. I looked at her, at the face I had loved for 5 years. I suddenly felt I had never known her. Fine, I nodded. I'll write it. I took a pen and paper from the drawer, quickly wrote out an IOU for 500,000, signed my name, and pressed my fingerprint. I handed the IOU to her. She took it, examined it carefully, and then showed a satisfied smile. Good. Then we have an agreement, she said. We'll go to the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow. No need to rush, I said. Why? Are you trying to back out? She looked at me suspiciously. No, I shook my head. I need a lawyer to review the divorce agreement. Also, property division takes some time. What's there to review? I said you could have the house and the car and I'd leave with nothing. That won't do, Jiang Ying immediately countered. It must be clearly written. What if you back out later and try to fight me for the house? See, she wouldn't even give me that much trust. Fine, I said. Then wait for my lawyer's notification. With that, I walked out of the study. I didn't look at her again. I returned to the bedroom and pulled out my suitcase from the closet. I started packing my things. I didn't have much, a few changes of clothes, some books, and my old laptop. Jiang Ying followed me, leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed, watching me coldly. What? Can't wait to move out? Found someone else already? Her words were like daggers. I ignored her. I folded my clothes and put them in the suitcase. I opened the nightstand drawer where our couple photos were kept. We were smiling sweetly in the picture. I took the photo out, looked at my own face smiling so happily, and felt like I was looking at a stranger. I threw the photo, frame and all, into the trash can. Jiang Ying's face changed. Chen Chi, what is the meaning of this? No meaning, I said. It's over. I zipped up the suitcase and stood up. I'm going to stay at the office for now, I said. I'll come back for the rest of my things once the divorce papers are finalized. I pushed the suitcase and walked past her. I didn't look at her once. I reached the door. As I changed my shoes, she suddenly spoke from behind me. Chen Chi, you will regret this. I didn't look back. I opened the door and walked out. As I closed the door, I heard her hysterical crying inside. I stood at the door for a long time. I didn't feel heartbroken, but I only found it loud. I stayed in an unused storage room at the office. There was an old sofa in it where I slept at night. During the day, I acted as if nothing had happened, working normally, attending meetings, and negotiating projects with clients. My colleagues thought something was wrong, asking if there was trouble at home. I said no, just a very busy project recently. No one suspected anything. Only I knew that a part of my heart had collapsed. I contacted a divorce lawyer named Wang. I explained my situation to him. After listening, Lawyer Wang adjusted his glasses. Mr. Chen, according to our country's marriage law, marital infidelity is considered fault. The non-fault party can request a larger share of the property division and can also claim damages for emotional distress. In other words, you absolutely do not need to leave with nothing. I know, I said. But that's not what I need your help with. Then what do you need? I need you to help me gather all the evidence of her infidelity, I said. The more detailed, the better. Photos, videos, hotel records, transfer receipts, everything. Lawyer Wang looked at me with some surprise. Mr. Chen, are you planning to? I simply want her to pay a price for her actions, I said. I want to ruin her reputation. My voice was very calm, but Lawyer Wang seemed to hear something else in my calmness. He was silent for a moment. All right, he said. I can help you with this. But it will take some time and money. Money is not an issue, I said. I can wait for the time. Then I suggest you don't confront your wife yet. Keep everything as usual so as not to alert her. I already confronted her, I said. I'm staying at the company now. Lawyer Wang frowned. That makes things a bit tricky. However, it's not a problem. I know a very capable private investigator. I can introduce him to you. And so, I met the private investigator. His name was Li, in his 40s, very lean with eyes like a hawk. I gave him Luo Hao's photos and all the information I had. Brother Li, I appreciate your trouble. I'm paid to do a job, no trouble at all. He collected the documents. I'll get back to you in a week. The following week was the slowest week of my life. I lived in a state of division every day. By day, I was the stable and reliable manager Chen.By night, I was a pathetic wreck staring at my phone, waiting for a stranger's message. Jiang Ying called me a few times. The first time she demanded to know why I hadn't filed the papers yet. I said the lawyers were working on it and told her to wait. The second time she cried, said she knew she was wrong and begged me to come home. I didn't say anything and hung up. The third time she didn't speak. The voice on the other end was Luo Hao's. Hey Chen, what kind of trash are you? The voice on the phone was arrogant. A man who can't even hold on to his own woman is a loser. Ying is my woman now. You'd better be smart and divorce her quickly. Don't waste our time. Oh right, don't think you can renege on that 500,000 IOU. Otherwise, I have ways to make sure you can't stay in a city. Then he hung up. I stood by the window of the storage room, holding my phone, watching the traffic flow outside. I wasn't angry. I just thought, this world is so messed up. A week later, Brother Li called me. I've got all the goods. I met Brother Li at a secluded tea house. He handed me a manila envelope. It's all in here. I opened the envelope and emptied the contents onto the table. A thick stack of photos and a USB drive. I picked up the photos and looked at them one by one. The first one was of Jiang Ying and Luo Hao at a Paris airport. Luo Hao had his arm around her waist, and she was smiling sweetly. The second was outside a hotel. They were holding hands and walking inside. The hotel name was Le Bristol Paris, one of the most luxurious hotels in Paris. The third, fourth, fifth, all were intimate photos of them together in various settings. feeding each other in a restaurant, Luo Hao swiping his card in a luxury store, Jiang Ying carrying multiple bags, kissing on a boat on the Seine River. There were also some taken inside a hotel room. The angles were tricky, likely shot from an opposite building using a telephoto lens. In the photos, they were wrapped in bathrobes, embracing each other. My hands began to tremble. I put down the photos and picked up the USB drive. What's on the USB drive? I asked Brotherly. Videos, Brotherly sipped his tea and said calmly. And some more interesting stuff. I plugged the USB drive into my laptop. There were two folders. One was called Videos, the other Records. I opened the Videos folder first. The videos were similar to the photos, footage of them eating, drinking, and having fun in Paris. I fast-forwarded until the last video. The video thumbnail showed a hotel room. I hesitated but clicked it anyway. The video footage was shaky and blurry, but I could still clearly see two figures entangled on the bed. I could hear Jiang Ying's muffled sounds I had never heard before. I closed the video halfway through. My stomach churned. I rushed into the tea house restroom and threw up violently over the sink. Nothing came out, only sour bile. I turned on the faucet and splashed cold water on my face repeatedly. I looked at the man in the mirror, pale-faced, his eyes bloodshot. I felt like a stranger. I stayed in the restroom for a long time. When I returned to my seat, Brotherly had already packed everything back into the manila envelope. Mr. Chen, are you all right? I'm fine, I shook my head, my voice hoarse. I opened the other folder, Records. Inside were a few PDF files. The first was the hotel check-in records for Jiang Ying and Luo Hao at that Paris hotel. It started from her second month in Paris until just before she returned home. An average of at least twice a week. The second was the transfer records from Luo Hao to Jiang Ying. Each transfer was 52,000 or 131,400. The note read, allowance for my baby. The third was what surprised me the most. It was an abortion surgery report from a private hospital in Paris. The surgery date was 4 months ago. The signature for the family member on the report was Leo Luo. I stared at that report, completely numb. So, she had been pregnant with that man's child. So, while I was calculating the time difference every night to say goodnight baby, she was lying in another man's arms. So, while I was worried she wasn't eating or sleeping well alone abroad, she was having such a colorful life. I always thought I had just lost a lover whose heart had strayed. Now I knew I had lost all the sincerity of my last 5 years. My 5 years were a complete and utter joke. I held the manila envelope in my arms as if it were a bomb. Brotherly, how much do I owe you? The remaining balance is 200,000. I took out my phone and transferred the money on the spot. Thank you. My pleasure. Brotherly collected the money and stood up. Mr. Chen, feel free to contact me again if you have similar needs. With that, he left. I sat alone in the tea house for a long time. It was dark outside. I tucked the manila envelope into my backpack and put it on. I didn't go back to the office. I drove back to the place that Jiang Ying and I once called home. I used the key to unlock the door. The apartment was dark. Jiang Ying wasn't there. I turned on the lights. The room was exactly as I had left it that day. The dining table was a mess. I put my backpack on the sofa and began to clean up. I dumped the leftover food into the trash can. I loaded the dishes into the dishwasher one by one. I mopped the floor until it was spotless. I arranged the throw pillows neatly on the sofa. I gathered everything that belonged to me. My toothbrush, my towel, the few remaining clothes in the closet. I put them all into a black trash bag. Then I walked into the walk-in closet. It was Jiang Ying's exclusive domain. It was filled with designer clothes, bags, and shoes she had bought over the years. Many of them I had paid for with my card. I looked at them, feeling absolutely nothing. I pulled open a drawer. Inside was her jewelry box. I opened it. The cufflink engraved with LO was still inside. I picked it up and held it in my palm. It was cold and lightweight. I put it in my pocket. After doing all this, I sat on the sofa and waited. I don't know what I was waiting for. Maybe I was waiting for her to come back. Or maybe I was waiting for myself to completely give up hope. At 11 p.m., the door opened. Jiang Ying came back. She wasn't alone. She walked in, arm in arm with Luo Hao, both laughing and talking. They froze when they saw me. Luo Hao's face flashed with surprise, then unconcealed defiance and contempt. Jiang Ying's face showed panic and guilt. Chen Chi. Why are you here? She subconsciously let go of Luo Hao's arm. This is my home. Why can't I be here? I asked her calmly. I thought you weren't coming back. I'm not coming back, I said. I just came back to pick up a few things. I pointed to the black trash bag by the door. Luo Hao laughed. He walked over, sat heavily on the sofa opposite me, and crossed his legs. Hey Chen, you're quite self-aware, aren't you? Perfect. Saves us the trouble of throwing out your junk. He acted as if this were already his home. I ignored him. I looked at Jiang Ying. I don't think I need to introduce him, do I? Jiang Ying's face flushed from red to white. Chen Chi, don't be like this. Didn't we already agree to divorce? Yes, we did agree, I nodded. But Jiang Ying, don't you have anything you want to say to me, like explaining this? I pulled out the cufflink from my pocket and tossed it onto the coffee table. The cufflink slid across the glass coffee table, making a crisp sound. Jiang Ying's eyes landed on the cufflink, her pupils contracting sharply. Luo Hao saw it too, and the expression on his face became somewhat playful. Oh, isn't this the cufflink I lost a few days ago? Why do you have it? He asked knowingly. I have it, I looked at Jiang Ying. I found it in your suitcase. Jiang Ying's face turned even paler. She probably hadn't expected me to go through her luggage. You. How dare you go through my things? She snapped in anger. Because I'm your husband whom you haven't divorced yet, I said, word by word. You. Enough with the yous, Luo Hao impatiently cut her off, then turned to me. All right, Chen, stop pretending to be a love-struck fool here. You've seen the evidence. Yes, Ying and I are together. So what? I can give her everything you can, twice as much. And I can give her what you can't. A weakling like you simply isn't good enough for her. He said this and reached out to pull Jiang Ying into his embrace. Jiang Ying half-heartedly leaned against him. The sight was jarring. I looked at them and suddenly smiled. Yes, I'm not good enough for her, I nodded. I am indeed not good enough for a woman who spends her husband's money while cheating on him with other men, and even gets an abortion for another man. The moment I finished speaking, Jiang Ying's face completely drained of color. She quickly broke free from Luo Hao's embrace and pointed at me. You're talking nonsense. Am I talking nonsense? I pulled out the copy of the abortion surgery report from my backpack and threw it in front of her. See for yourself if that's your signature. Jiang Ying looked at the report, her entire body shaking. Luo Hao picked it up and glanced at it, his brow furrowing. He looked at Jiang Ying with a hint of scrutiny and displeasure. What is this about? I. Jiang Ying stammered. Leo, please let me explain. I didn't mean to hide it from you. Stop it. I stood up, unwilling to watch their farce any longer. Jiang Ying, there's nothing left to say between us. Here is my divorce agreement. I've already signed it. I took out another document from my backpack and put it on the coffee table. Read it. If you have no problems, sign it. I don't want any property. I also accept the 500,000 IOU. I have only one condition. What condition? Jiang Ying looked at me, a flicker of hope in her eyes. She probably thought I would demand she break up with Luo Hao and come back to me. I looked at her and said, word by word, I demand that you leave with nothing. What? Jiang Ying shrieked, her voice grating. Leave with nothing? Chen Chi, are you crazy? My parents bought this house. Why should I leave with nothing? Luo Hao sneered from the side. Hey Chen, are you so poor you've gone mad? Do you want money that badly? I think the crazy ones are you too. I looked at them, my eyes cold as ice. Jiang Ying, is marital infidelity and transferring joint marital property enough to make you leave with nothing? I slapped the transfer records onto the table as well. The money you spend on buying Mr. Luo Hao's sports cars and watches, that's our joint marital property, isn't it? Don't I have the right to get that money back? Jiang Ying's lips trembled, she was speechless. And you, I turned to Luo Hao. You knowingly maintained an improper relationship with a married woman. That's called undermining a military marriage. Oh, wait, I'm not a soldier, I smiled. My mistake. That's called adultery. You. Luo Hao's face turned the color of a pig's liver. Mr. Luo Hao, your family has a huge business. You probably don't want this scandalous news to affect your company's stock price, do you? If I were to post all this evidence I have online, what do you think would happen? You would be called the male mistress by netizens, and you would completely disgrace your Luo family. If your father found out, do you think he would break your legs? Luo Hao's expression changed repeatedly. He looked at me, and for the first time there was caution in his eyes. He probably hadn't expected me, the weakling in his eyes, to investigate things so thoroughly and be so ruthless. What do you want? He gritted his teeth and asked. I don't want anything, I said. I just want to reclaim what belongs to me. Your family paid the down payment for this house, true? But I've paid the mortgage for all these years. I paid for the renovation. I bought everything in the house. When calculated, at least half of this house is mine. Right now, I only want the house. I can let everything else go. You're dreaming, Jiang Ying shouted. Then let's settle it in court, I said. At that time, these photos, videos, the abortion report, and the transfer records will all be presented as evidence to the judge and everyone else. Jiang Ying, you're a teacher, aren't you? If your school, your students, and their parents saw all this, do you think you could continue teaching? Jiang Ying swayed, nearly losing her balance. Her biggest weakness was her respectable job and her pathetic sense of dignity as an educator. I had seized it, and I squeezed it tightly. She looked at me, her eyes filled with terror and hatred. She probably had never seen me like this. Calm, cruel, and showing no mercy. Chen Chi, do you have to be so absolute? She cried. Tears streamed down her beautiful face. But now, watching her tears, I felt nothing. I only found it hypocritical. Absolute. I smiled. Jiang Ying, who is the one being absolute? It was you who went to another man's bed the moment I called you every night to say, I love you. It was you who used my money to buy a different man gifts worth hundreds of thousands. It was you who carried another man's child and then turned around to lie that you just gained weight. It was you who stepped on my 5 years of sincerity and ground it to dust. And now you're asking me if I'm being absolute? My voice wasn't loud, but every word was like a stone thrown at her heart. She stopped crying. She just stared at me blankly, as if she didn't know who I was. Luo Hao's face was also very grim. He too was likely hearing about Jiang Ying's glorious deeds for the first time. The look in his eyes when he saw Jiang Ying was no longer infatuated or passionate, only disgust and contempt. Ying, is what he's saying true? He asked. Jiang Ying didn't answer, just kept her head down, her shoulders shaking. Luo Hao gave a cold laugh. Fine, Jiang Ying, you sure know how to play the game. Were you playing me for a sugar daddy? Here's 200,000. Consider it your compensation for spending these few months with me. From now on, we're done. Clean break. Don't come looking for me again. With that, he stood up, straightened his expensive suit, and walked out without looking back. The door slammed shut with a bang. Only Jiang Ying and I were left in the room. And the wreckage of everything. Jiang Ying looked at the bank card, then looked at me, and suddenly collapsed. She lunged at me, trying to tear the divorce agreement out of my hands. I won't divorce. Chen Chi, I won't divorce you. I was wrong, I truly know I was wrong. Please give me another chance, okay? Let's start over, let's go back to how we were. She sobbed uncontrollably. I didn't move, letting her pull at me. I had made many copies of that divorce agreement. It's too late, I said. Jiang Ying, the moment I discovered your betrayal, we were already finished. Betrayal means forever goodbye. I pried her hands off my arm, one finger at a time. Sign it, I said. Don't force me to make things uglier. My tone held no warmth. She looked at me, her expression shifting from pleading to despair. Finally, it turned into bitter hatred. She picked up the pen from the floor and signed her name on the divorce agreement. Her handwriting was shaky and frantic, the force almost tearing the paper. After signing, she threw the pen violently onto the floor. Chen Chi, you will regret this. She repeated the exact words she had said the day I left. I didn't speak. I collected my copy of the agreement. Then, I placed the manila envelope from my backpack onto the coffee table. All the original documents are in here, I said. I'll let you keep some dignity. I'll wait for you at the Civil Affairs Bureau at 9 tomorrow morning. With that, I turned and walked toward the door. I picked up the black trash bag containing all my belongings. My hand was on the doorknob. Chen Chi, she called out to me from behind. Her voice was very calm, strangely calm. Did you ever love me? I didn't turn around. I did, I said. Before I found out you were just trash dressed up in human skin. I opened the door and walked out. This time I didn't hear her crying. I arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau at 8:50 a.m. the next day. I leaned against my car and lit a cigarette. I don't smoke, but today I really wanted to. The acrid smoke burned my lungs, making me cough. At exactly 9 o'clock, Jiang Ying arrived. She was driving the red Mini Cooper I bought her. She wore heavy makeup, covering her fatigued look. She was wearing a black dress, looking noble and aloof. It was as if she wasn't coming for a divorce but for a fashion gala. She got out of the car and walked straight toward me. Where are the documents? She asked. What documents? The originals you mentioned yesterday. I'll give them to you after we finish the process, I said. She didn't speak again and walked into the Civil Affairs Bureau. The procedure was quick. So fast it felt like a dream. The staff asked if we were divorcing voluntarily. We both said yes. They asked if the property division was clear. We also said yes. Then, stamping and signing. 2 red marriage certificates were exchanged for 2 green divorce certificates. It took no more than 10 minutes. Our 5 years of marriage ended just like that. Outside the Civil Affairs Bureau, the sun was bright, almost blinding. I squinted before my eyes could adjust. Jiang Ying stood on the steps, looking at me. Can I have the documents now? The photos and files are all in here, I said. What about the videos? I deleted the videos, I said. We were husband and wife, after all. I didn't want to be completely heartless. I didn't want to strip her of her last shred of dignity. She took the USB drive and clutched it tightly. Chen Chi, do you think you won? I didn't win, I shook my head. Jiang Ying, in this marriage we are both losers. I lost my sincerity, and you lost your future. With that, I didn't want to say another word to her. I turned and walked toward my car. Wait a moment, she called out to me again. I will transfer the 500,000 to your card in a few days. I paused. I hadn't expected her to bring that up. I thought she had forgotten. No need, I said. No, I must give it to you, her tone was insistent. I don't want to owe you anything. Whatever you want. I opened the car door and got in. I started the car, ready to leave. In the rearview mirror, I saw her still standing there, watching my car. Her face was expressionless. I couldn't tell if she was happy or sad. I stepped on the gas, and the car merged into the traffic. She and I were now completely separated. I didn't immediately look for a new place to live. I continued to stay in the storage room. The night I got the divorce certificate, I drank a lot of alcohol alone. I didn't cry or make a scene. I just drank, glass after glass. I blacked out in the end. When I woke up the next day, my head was throbbing violently. I saw the 500,000 transfer record from Jiang Ying on my phone. I couldn't describe how I felt. She had indeed cut all ties cleanly. It's fine. Now we were even. I immediately donated the 500,000 to an educational foundation for children in mountainous regions. I didn't want to keep that money that made me feel disgusted. Life seemed to return to normal. I began to pour all my energy into work. I worked overtime relentlessly, constantly pursuing new projects. I used work to numb myself. I didn't want to give myself any spare time to think about all the messy things. A few months later, Lawyer Wang called me. Mr. Chen, your ex-wife's house has been listed with a real estate agent and sold. Oh, I replied. She also seemed to have resigned from her teaching job, Lawyer Wang added. Is that so? I heard she's planning to settle abroad. Understood. I hung up and stood by the window, looking at the gloomy sky outside. She was gone. It's for the best. This city was too small. I was afraid we might accidentally run into each other. A few more months passed, and I gradually moved on from that failed marriage. I no longer suffered from insomnia or nightmares. I started trying to embrace a new life. I signed up for a gym, lifting weights every weekend. I started learning to cook for myself. The food wasn't as good as what I used to make, but it was edible. One day, I met a girl at the gym. Her name was Xiaoya, a yoga instructor at the gym. She smiled a lot, with 2 shallow dimples when she did. She would actively say hello to me. She would say, "Brother Chen, your posture isn't right." Then she would walk over and patiently correct my stance. Her hand was warm. She had a faint scent of lemongrass on her. It smelled nice. We slowly became acquainted. Sometimes, after a workout, we would go out for a late-night snack. She would tell me about her family. She talked about her annoying younger brother. She talked about wanting to save money to open her own yoga studio. Her eyes were sparkling when she spoke, as if holding stars. I would unconsciously smile when looking at her. I felt like it had been a long time since I truly smiled like this. One evening, we were having a late-night snack together again. She had a little beer, her cheeks flushed. "Brother Chen, can I ask you a question?" "Go ahead." Did you suffer some kind of heartbreak?" She asked carefully. "I always feel like you're hiding a lot inside. You always look unhappy." I looked at her and paused for a moment. "Yes," I nodded. "I'm divorced." Xiaoya froze when she heard that. She probably hadn't expected me to be so honest. I'm so sorry, Brother Chen. I didn't mean to bring up painful memories." She was a little flustered. "It's okay," I smiled. "It's all in the past." "Then, what kind of person was your ex-wife?" She was still curious. I thought for a moment. Her. Very beautiful and very smart. She just loved money a little too much. I spoke very calmly, as if talking about someone else's story. Xiaoya looked at me, her eyes showing some sympathy. "So, do you still miss her now?" I shook my head. "No, I don't." I was telling the truth. I truly didn't miss her anymore. That relationship was like a severe cold. When it was active, there was headache, fever, and exhaustion, making you think you were dying. But once the illness was over, you were fine. Even if a few lingering symptoms remained. It wouldn't kill me anymore. From then on, Xiaoya and I grew closer. I would drive her home from work. I would buy her hot milk tea during her period. I would listen to her complain about her useless younger brother. I didn't confess my feelings to her. I was afraid I wasn't completely ready to start a new relationship. I was afraid I would bring the shadow of the last relationship to her. That wouldn't be fair to her. Xiaoya also subtly didn't push things further. We just kept a comfortable distance. Like friends, but perhaps a little more than friends. It felt good. Very comfortable. A year later, my company landed a big project. If we succeeded, the company would reach a new level. My team and I worked tirelessly for 3 months. I drank a lot of alcohol at the celebration party. It was nearly midnight when the party broke up. I called a designated driver to take me home. I had moved into a new place, a small apartment close to the office. It wasn't big, but it was cozy. I decorated it myself little by little. The car arrived at the apartment building. I paid the driver and got out. Just as I was about to go upstairs, I saw a figure standing below my building. The person was very thin, wearing an inappropriately thin trench coat. In the dark, I couldn't clearly see her face. But I was too familiar with that figure. It was Jiang Ying. Why was she here? Hadn't she gone abroad? She saw me too. She walked toward me. As she came closer, I could finally see her face. She was thinner than before. She wore no makeup, her complexion was poor and her eyes were sunken. She looked like she hadn't been doing well. Chen Chi, she spoke, her voice hoarse. Why are you here? I asked. I came back to handle some things, she said. Lin Man told me you were living here. Is there something you need? My tone was distant. She looked at me, her eyes turning red. I regret it. Chen Chi, let's get back together. She said it. I looked at her, at the woman I once loved deep in my bones. Now she stood before me, saying she regretted it. I felt nothing inside.